Okay, let's go to Michael Shifter. Michael, great to see you again. How does Washington view this burgeoning relationship between China and Latin America? Because, as we pointed out earlier, the United States has always regarded the Western Hemisphere, the entire Western Hemisphere, as falling under its sphere of influence.
Right. Well, as has been mentioned already, the conventional thinking a couple of years ago is that China wasn't going to do anything in Latin America that would risk its relationship with the United States. But it sees the United States as increasingly withdrawn from the region, as losing a lot of interest, its attention being diverted elsewhere. And so China's become emboldened and is no longer, I think, concerned about that. And the other aspect that hasn't been mentioned is let's look at what's happening internally in the United States. This is where I think the change has been most significant in terms of this deterioration of the political system, dysfunctionality of government, polarization, inequalities. Those kinds of things have taken a toll, and they have implications about the capacity of the United States to project a coherent foreign policy overall, and also to be deeply engaged in Latin America and the Caribbean. So that's been an enormous problem. Now, the United States obviously sees with some concern China's expanding presence and influence in the region, especially in the tech sectors, the high-tech sectors. They're concerned about sort of privacy issues. They're trying to compete more effectively. There's the Development Finance Corporation and the idea of the Build Back Better world. And so there is I think, an interest and an intention to be more engaged economically in the region, but I think, frankly, it's not going to be able to match the resources that China has and huge infrastructure projects and the like. They just won't be able to compete. I would underscore the distinction that was made that, Latin America, China still doesn't have as much economic leverage in Mexico, let's say, as the United States does there. There's just very deep ties, and some 80% of Mexico's trade goes to the United States. So, and that's true with Central America and the Caribbean. There is a distinction between North America and also South America, where the United States is becoming much, much less engaged and, I think, influential, and that opens the way for China and other actors as well.
Michael, I just want to get back to a point you mentioned earlier, and that is there was a belief that at one time that China would not do anything in Latin America that would endanger its relationship with the United States. But can't it be advantageous to all parties?
Well, yes, I think that's, I think that's the way that's the Latin American perspective is. And I think the United States, whether it's the Trump administration and now the Biden administration, has to be very careful that it doesn't try to speak to Latin America by saying you have a choice and you have to pick sides between China and the United States, because that would just be counterproductive. I mean, that's been tried, and the Latin America, because of the dire economic situation in the region, and remember, this is the region most ravaged by the pandemic. By the way, the United States, that's a classic case where the United States was sleeping while Latin America was suffering from the pandemic, while the Chinese engaged in mask diplomacy and then vaccine diplomacy, and the United States really lost an opportunity to be engaged. But I think the United States is coming to terms with the fact that Latin America is simply not going to choose the United States over China. It can't afford to do that. It's got to deal with both. And it just has to compete, learn how to compete more effectively and try to be more strategic in its approach to Latin America. It's very difficult, but I think slowly, I think Washington is coming to that, or at least most of Washington is coming to that recognition.
Tony, looking at the economic and trade relationship between China and the countries of